A Billionaire's Hidden Lesson. The Humble Beginnings. The sun was just rising over the sprawling city, its golden light reflecting off the towering skyscrapers that housed some of the wealthiest individuals in the world. Among them was Ethan Carter, a billionaire tech mogul whose name was synonymous with innovation and success. Ethan had it all: money, fame, and a reputation as one of the brightest minds of his generation. Yet, despite his achievements, he had grown detached from the world around him, his wealth shielding him from the struggles of ordinary people. One crisp autumn morning, Ethan sat in his penthouse office, overlooking the bustling city below. He was preparing for a major product launch, a groundbreaking AI system that promised to revolutionize industries. But his trusted advisor, Sarah, interrupted his thoughts. "Ethan, have you ever wondered what life is like for the people down there?" she asked, pointing to the streets filled with workers and families. Ethan scoffed. "I worked my way up, Sarah. I know what struggle is." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Do you? It's been decades since you've walked in their shoes. Maybe it's time for a reminder." Her words lingered in Ethan's mind. That evening, as he watched the news, a segment on homelessness and poverty, he decided to take on an unconventional challenge. He would disguise himself as a homeless man and spend a week living on the streets to understand the struggles of ordinary people. Into the unknown. The next day, Ethan traded his tailored suit for worn-out clothes and left his penthouse without a credit card, phone, or any indication of his true identity. His transformation was so convincing that even his closest employees wouldn't have recognized him. As he stepped onto the streets, the city that once felt like his kingdom now seemed vast and indifferent. People hurried past him without a second glance. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, and the chill of the evening air seeped through his thin jacket. Ethan's first night was spent in a crowded shelter, where he met a man named Ben. Ben was a former teacher who had lost everything after a series of unfortunate events. Despite his circumstances, Ben radiated kindness and wisdom, offering Ethan a blanket and sharing stories of resilience. "Life isn't about what you have," Ben said. "It's about what you give. Even out here, we look out for each other." Ethan was struck by Ben's generosity. In his world, wealth often bred selfishness, but here, amidst the struggles, he found a sense of community. Lessons in humanity. Over the next few days, Ethan experienced the harsh realities of life on the streets. He faced rejection while seeking work, endured judgmental stares, and grappled with the despair of not knowing where his next meal would come from. Yet he also encountered moments of unexpected kindness. A young barista named Lily noticed him outside the coffee shop and offered him a warm drink. "Everyone deserves a little kindness," she said with a smile. Ethan's interactions with people like Ben and Lily began to change him. He saw the world through their eyes and realized how disconnected he had become. For years, he had focused on profits and innovation, forgetting the human element that truly mattered. The turning point. One evening, as Ethan sat by a fire in a makeshift camp, he overheard a group discussing their dreams and aspirations. Despite their circumstances, they spoke with hope and determination. Ben's words from earlier echoed in his mind. "It's about what you give." Ethan decided that once his experiment ended, he would use his resources to make a real difference. He began jotting down ideas for initiatives to support the homeless, create job opportunities, and provide education for those in need. But first, he needed to confront his own biases. He realized that he had judged others based on their appearances and circumstances, just as people were now judging him. Unveiling the truth. After a week on the streets, Ethan returned to his penthouse. His team was shocked by his appearance and even more so by his story. At a press conference for his AI product launch, Ethan decided to share his experience. "Before I unveil this product, I want to share something more important," he began. He recounted his week as a homeless man and the lessons he had learned. The audience was captivated as he spoke about the kindness of strangers, the resilience of the human spirit, and the importance of empathy. "We've built technology to make lives easier, but it's time we use our resources to uplift those who need it most," Ethan declared. He announced a new initiative, a foundation dedicated to addressing homelessness and poverty. A new mission. Ethan's foundation quickly gained traction. He partnered with nonprofits, invested in affordable housing projects, and launched programs to provide education and job training. His efforts inspired other business leaders to follow suit, creating a ripple effect of positive change. Ethan also maintained relationships with the people he met during his week on the streets. He hired Ben to run a mentorship program and helped Lily expand her coffee shop into a community hub. A new mission. Ethan's foundation quickly gained traction. He partnered with nonprofits, invested in affordable housing projects, and launched programs to provide education and job training. His efforts inspired other business leaders to follow suit, creating a ripple effect of positive change. Ethan also maintained relationships with the people he met during his week on the streets. He hired Ben to run a mentorship program and helped Lily expand her coffee shop into a community hub. The legacy. Years later, Ethan looked out from his office, not at the city's wealth, but at the thriving communities he had helped build. His journey had transformed him from a detached billionaire into a compassionate leader. As he prepared to address a new group of entrepreneurs, he reflected on the lesson that had changed his life. True wealth isn't measured by what you have, but by the difference you make in the lives of others. The ripple effect. Ethan's foundation became a catalyst for change, inspiring others across the globe to take action. Governments, corporations, and individuals joined hands to address the root causes of homelessness and poverty. Ethan's personal story, now widely known, served as a reminder that anyone could make a difference. Ben's mentorship program blossomed into a national initiative, pairing skilled professionals with those in need of guidance and support. Lily's community hub expanded to several locations, becoming a safe space for individuals to learn, grow, and connect. Ethan frequently visited the shelters and streets where his journey had begun. He spoke with those still struggling, listening to their stories and incorporating their feedback into his foundation's work. Through these interactions, he continued to grow, ensuring his efforts remained grounded in the realities of those he aimed to help. One day, Ethan was approached by a young boy named Marco at one of the community hubs. Marco had been inspired by Ethan's story and wanted to become an entrepreneur to help others. "What's the first step?" Marco asked. Ethan smiled. "The first step is to believe in yourself. The second is to never forget where you came from and who you want to help." Marco's determination reminded Ethan of his younger self, and he decided to mentor the boy personally. Marco's journey became a testament to the power of compassion and opportunity. A world transformed. Decades later, the impact of Ethan's work was evident worldwide. Cities were transformed, with affordable housing and thriving communities replacing neglected neighborhoods. Education and job opportunities were accessible to all, and the stigma around homelessness had diminished significantly. Ethan, now retired, spent his days teaching and sharing his story with future generations. He often reflected on the week that had changed his life, grateful for the lessons it had taught him. As he sat in a park surrounded by families, laughter, and the hum of a vibrant community, Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. His journey had come full circle, proving that true success lies not in wealth, but in the lives we touch and the legacy we leave behind. The seeds of change. Years after Ethan's retirement, the legacy of his foundation continued to flourish. Marco, now an accomplished entrepreneur and philanthropist, had taken Ethan's teachings to heart. Under Marco's leadership, the foundation expanded its reach to address global challenges like climate change, access to clean water, and refugee crises. Marco often reflected on Ethan's mentorship and the pivotal moment that had shaped his own journey. Inspired by Ethan's hands-on approach, Marco decided to create an initiative called the Seeds of Change, aimed at empowering young leaders from underprivileged backgrounds to tackle pressing issues in their communities. The program provided mentorship, resources, and funding to passionate individuals ready to make a difference. Marco personally guided the first cohort, sharing stories of his struggles and triumphs, much like Ethan had shared with him. One of the participants, a young woman named Amara, stood out with her vision of creating sustainable farming communities in drought-prone regions. With the foundation's support, Amara's project flourished, transforming barren landscapes into thriving agricultural hubs. Her success inspired countless others, demonstrating the ripple effect of investing in people and their dreams. Meanwhile, Ethan watched from the sidelines with pride. Though his role was now more advisory, he remained a beacon of wisdom and encouragement for the next generation of changemakers. His heart swelled as he saw how far the seeds he had planted had grown. On his 90th birthday, Ethan was honored with a Global Humanitarian Award. During his acceptance speech, he turned to the audience filled with leaders, innovators, and dreamers and said, "The world changes not through grand gestures, but through the quiet determination of individuals who dare to care. Let us all be the seeds of change." As the crowd erupted in applause, Ethan knew that his legacy was secure, not in the wealth he had amassed, but in the countless lives he had touched and the brighter future he had helped create. A shared vision. In the years following Ethan's milestone speech, the Seeds of Change initiative grew into a global movement. Leaders from diverse fields, scientists, activists, and educators collaborated to address pressing challenges. The foundation partnered with grassroots organizations, emphasizing that local knowledge and leadership were crucial to long-term solutions. Amara's sustainable farming model became the blueprint for other communities. She expanded her work, integrating modern technology to improve crop yields and water conservation. Her success inspired documentaries and educational programs, spreading her message far beyond the regions she served. Marco, now a father, often shared Ethan's story with his children, teaching them the values of empathy and responsibility. Inspired by their father, Marco's teenage daughter Elena started her own project, addressing mental health awareness among underserved youth. Elena's efforts marked the beginning of a new chapter in the Foundation's mission, focusing on emotional well-being as a pillar of societal progress. Ethan, still engaged as a mentor, marveled at the interconnectedness of the movement. "It's like watching a tapestry come to life," he told Sarah, who remained his closest confidant. "Every thread contributes to the whole. Challenges and triumphs. No journey is without obstacles." The Foundation faced resistance from traditional power structures and skepticism from those unwilling to embrace change. There were setbacks, projects that failed to gain traction, communities hesitant to trust external interventions, and global crises that tested the resilience of the movement. Yet, the Foundation persisted, guided by Ethan's philosophy. True progress comes from listening and adapting. They launched Community Circles, a program dedicated to amplifying voices, often overlooked. These forums allowed local leaders to express their needs and collaborate on tailored solutions. One such circle, held in a remote village in Southeast Asia, led to the development of an innovative solar energy project. Spearheaded by a young engineer named Arjun, the project transformed the village into a model for sustainable living, attracting global attention and inspiring similar efforts worldwide. As Ethan observed these developments, he felt a profound sense of gratitude. The movement was no longer about his vision alone. It had become a shared dream, carried forward by countless individuals. A global celebration. One day, Ethan received a letter written by people from all over the world. They were all saluting Ethan's work and thanking him for changing their lives. Ethan thought this was a great opportunity to take his work to the next level. New hopes. Ethan and his team started a new project. They created an online platform where people could share their skills and knowledge. The platform was named Hope, which means Umid in Hindi. Ethan thought this platform would help people achieve their dreams. A new chapter. One day, Ethan received a phone call from a young entrepreneur who was greatly inspired by Ethan's work. He wanted Ethan's advice on growing his business. Ethan gave him advice, and they started a new project together. Changing times. Ethan saw that times were changing, and people's needs were also changing. He thought it was time to think of new ways to take his work forward. Ethan and his team created a new plan and took their work to the next level. A new purpose. Ethan thought it was time to set a new purpose for his work. He wanted to take his work to a new country. Ethan and his team created a new plan, and they took their work to the next level. A new frontier. Ethan's decision to take his work to a new country was met with excitement and curiosity. He and his team spent months researching and planning, finally settling on a small village in Africa. The village was plagued by poverty and lack of access to education, making it the perfect place for Ethan's new project, building bridges. Ethan and his team arrived in the village and were greeted with open arms. They spent the first few weeks getting to know the locals and understanding their needs. Ethan was struck by the warmth and resilience of the people, despite the challenges they faced. He knew that building trust and relationships would be key to the success of his project Seeds of Change. Ethan's team began working on a new community center, which would serve as a hub for education, healthcare, and economic development. The center was designed to be sustainable and self-sufficient, using local materials and renewable energy. As the center took shape, Ethan could see the seeds of change being sown. Harvesting hope. The community center was finally complete, and the village was abuzz with excitement. Ethan's team had trained local leaders to run the center, ensuring that the project would be sustainable in the long term. As Ethan looked out at the thriving community, he felt a sense of pride and hope. He knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in the village's history, a legacy of love. Ethan's work in the village had a profound impact on the community. The community center became a beacon of hope, providing access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. Ethan's legacy extended far beyond the village, inspiring others to follow in his footsteps. As he looked back on his journey, Ethan knew that his greatest achievement was not his wealth or success, but the love and kindness he had shared with others. A new generation. Years had passed since Ethan's project in the village, and a new generation of leaders had emerged. They were inspired by Ethan's work and were determined to continue his legacy. Ethan was proud to see the impact of his work and knew that the future was in good hands. Expanding horizons. Ethan's team began to explore new opportunities for growth and expansion. They identified new communities in need and developed strategies to support them. Ethan's vision for a better world was becoming a reality. Overcoming adversity. Despite the many successes, Ethan's team faced numerous challenges. They encountered resistance from local governments, funding shortages, and logistical hurdles. However, Ethan's determination and resilience inspired his team to persevere. Celebrating milestones. Ethan's organization celebrated a major milestone, 10 years of service to communities in need. The event was attended by dignitaries, community leaders, and beneficiaries of Ethan's work. Ethan was humbled by the recognition and grateful for the opportunity to make a difference. Passing the torch. Ethan began to think about his legacy and the future of his organization. He knew that it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of leaders. Ethan identified a talented young leader, Rachel, and began to mentor her. A smooth transition. Rachel proved to be a capable and compassionate leader. Under her guidance, the organization continued to thrive. Ethan was confident that he had made the right decision in passing the torch to Rachel. Reflections and lessons. Ethan took time to reflect on his journey. He thought about the lessons he had learned, the challenges he had overcome, and the people he had met along the way. Ethan realized that his greatest achievement was not his wealth or success, but the positive impact he had on the lives of others. A life of purpose. Ethan's story served as an inspiration to many. He proved that one person could make a difference in the world. Ethan's life was a testament to the power of purpose, passion, and perseverance. The ripple effect. Ethan's work had a ripple effect, inspiring others to make a positive impact in their communities. His legacy continued to grow, touching the lives of people around the world. Ethan's story would be remembered for generations to come. Full circle. Ethan's journey had come full circle. He had started with a desire to make a difference and had ended up inspiring countless others to do the same. Ethan's life was a reminder that we all have the power to create positive change in the world. A new era of philanthropy. Ethan's legacy continued to inspire a new generation of philanthropists. His approach to giving, which emphasized empowerment and sustainability, had become a model for others to follow. As a result, there was a shift in the way people thought about philanthropy. No longer was it just about writing checks or donating to established charities. Instead, people were looking for ways to make a meaningful impact, to create lasting change. Ethan's organization, now led by Rachel, was at the forefront of this movement. They were working with donors, nonprofits, and community leaders to develop innovative solutions to complex social problems. The power of collaboration. One of the key principles of Ethan's approach to philanthropy was collaboration. He believed that no one organization or individual could solve the world's problems alone. Instead, it required a collective effort, a willingness to work together towards a common goal. Rachel and her team were taking this principle to heart, building partnerships with organizations from all over the world. They were working with governments, corporations, and NGOs to develop comprehensive solutions to issues like poverty, education, and healthcare. Measuring impact. As Ethan's organization grew and evolved, they began to think more critically about how to measure their impact. They knew that it wasn't enough to simply provide funding or support. They needed to be able to demonstrate that their efforts were making a real difference in people's lives. To address this challenge, Rachel and her team developed a robust evaluation framework, one that would allow them to assess the effectiveness of their programs and make data-driven decisions about where to focus their resources. Scaling for impact. Ethan's organization had always been focused on making a meaningful impact, but as they grew and expanded, they began to think more seriously about scale. How could they take their programs and initiatives and replicate them in other contexts, reaching more people and making a greater difference? Rachel and her team were exploring a range of strategies, from franchising to technology-enabled delivery models. They were also investing in research and development, looking for new and innovative ways to address complex social problems. Leaving a lasting legacy. As Ethan looked back on his life's work, he was filled with a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had made a real difference in the world, and his legacy would continue to inspire and motivate others long after he was gone. But Ethan knew that his work was far from over. There were still so many challenges to be addressed, so many people in need. He was confident that Rachel and her team would carry on his work, taking it to new heights and making an even greater impact. A new era of social entrepreneurship. Ethan's organization had always been at the forefront of social entrepreneurship, using business principles to drive social change. But as the years passed, Ethan began to realize that the landscape of social entrepreneurship was shifting. New players were entering the field, bringing with them new ideas and approaches. Ethan was excited to see this growth and development, and he knew that his organization had to adapt in order to remain relevant. Rachel and her team began to explore new models of social entrepreneurship, looking for ways to leverage technology, innovation, and collaboration to drive greater impact. They invested in research and development, identifying emerging trends and opportunities in the field. They also began to build partnerships with other organizations, looking for ways to amplify their impact and reach new audiences. As Ethan looked out at the changing landscape of social entrepreneurship, he felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. His organization had played a key role in shaping the field, and he knew that they would continue to be a leader in the years to come. The power of storytelling. Ethan had always known the power of storytelling. He had used stories to inspire and motivate others, to convey complex ideas and emotions in a way that was relatable and accessible. But as he looked out at the world around him, he realized that storytelling was more important than ever. In a world that was increasingly complex and fragmented, stories had the power to bring people together, to create a sense of shared understanding and purpose. Ethan knew that his organization had to use storytelling in a more intentional and strategic way to convey the impact and importance of their work. Rachel and her team began to develop a new storytelling strategy, one that would use a range of media and platforms to convey the stories of the people and communities they served. They invested in video production, photography, and writing, creating a range of content that would inspire and motivate others. They also began to use social media in a more intentional way, leveraging platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to share their stories and reach new audiences. Building a movement. Ethan had always known that his organization's work was not just about providing services or support, but about building a movement. He wanted to create a groundswell of support and activism, one that would drive lasting change and impact. Rachel and her team began to develop a new movement-building strategy, one that would use a range of tactics and approaches to mobilize and engage people. They invested in community organizing, building relationships with local leaders and organizations to create a network of support and activism. They also began to use digital organizing tools, leveraging platforms like email and social media to mobilize and engage people. As Ethan looked out at the growing movement, he felt a sense of pride and hope. He knew that this movement would drive lasting change and impact, and he was excited to see where it would go. Embracing complexity. Ethan had always known that the problems his organization addressed were complex and multifaceted. He had seen firsthand the ways in which poverty, inequality, and social injustice were intertwined, and he knew that any solution would have to be equally complex. Rachel and her team began to develop a new approach to addressing these complex problems, one that would use a range of strategies and interventions to drive lasting change. They invested in research and development, identifying emerging trends and opportunities in the field. They also began to build partnerships with other organizations, looking for ways to leverage their collective expertise and resources to drive greater impact. As Ethan looked out at the complex landscape of social change, he felt a sense of humility and awe. He knew that his organization's work was just one small part of a much larger movement, and he was grateful to be a part of it. A legacy of impact. Ethan's organization had always been focused on making a lasting impact, but as he looked out at the world around him, he realized that their work was just beginning. There were still so many challenges to be addressed, so many people in need. Rachel and her team were committed to carrying on Ethan's legacy, using the lessons and strategies they had developed over the years to drive even greater impact. They were investing in new programs and initiatives, leveraging technology and innovation to reach more people and drive greater change. As Ethan looked out at the future, he felt a sense of hope and optimism. He knew that his organization's work would continue to make a difference, driving lasting change and impact for generations to come. A lasting legacy. Ethan's journey had come full circle. From his humble beginnings to his rise as a successful entrepreneur and philanthropist, he had always been driven by a desire to make a difference. As he looked out at the world around him, Ethan felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. His organization had made a lasting impact, improving the lives of countless people and inspiring a new generation of leaders. Rachel, who had taken over as the leader of the organization, approached Ethan with tears in her eyes. "Ethan, your legacy will live on through us," she said. "We will continue to fight for justice, equality, and opportunity for all." Ethan smiled, his eyes shining with tears. "I know that I am leaving my organization in good hands," he said. "You and the team will take it to even greater heights." As the sun set on Ethan's remarkable journey, he knew that his legacy would endure. His story would inspire generations to come, reminding them that one person can make a difference and that the power to create positive change lies within each of us. The end.